My name is Michael Sykes. I'm a renowned writer, photographer, publisher, and bookseller. And I was living on the bay, on Tomales Bay, with Cindy at her house in 1979 when The Fog was filmed. And I have two distinct memories of this time. When they were filming at Cindy's house, they let all the kids out of school for the day so they could come down and watch the film being made at the house. And John Carpenter and company put out this grand buffet for everyone, locals and film crew alike, and all the kids just whooped it up and ate and had a great time, you know. And they loved it. And so the scene, though, that was filmed in Cindy's house is legendary and pivotal to the movie, of course, was Jamie Lee Curtis and the man that picked her up hitchhiking on Bear Valley Road in our bed together. And not only that, in our sheets. They didn't change the bed or anything, they just used our sheets. So the scene is, that there's a knocking on the door. The zombies are knocking to come in, see? And this couple is in bed and they are disturbed, of course, from their amorous pleasures and whatnot. They look up and the camera dollies back from the bedroom. You see Jamie Lee and her back to the front door, which is all swirling fog and strange shadowy creatures and knock. That was the shot. That was what they needed Cindy's house for. Now we can go over to Petaluma to the world premiere of the film. And we were all there. The theater was packed, absolutely packed to the gills. And we were all dressed up. And I had on a red velvet jacket, smoking jacket or something. I don't know what my kids wore, but they're both with me, Ben and Matthew, and they were sitting with me. And we all had buckets of popcorn, and we're all excited. And Art Rogers is up on the stage doing his number. Everybody stay still, you know. Don't let anybody move. Okay, you, and that kind of deal. And so we finally got together, and Art took the shot, which is in the point raised light. Probably got to that scene in the film where the camera's pulling back from the bedroom and going towards the front door. Cindy hollered out, "That's my bed!" Everybody cracked up. The theater just cracked up. Those are my two memories.
My name is Kelly Gallagher, and approximately in April of 1979, I was employed at the Golden Hind Hotel as a maintenance worker. That is where the cast and crew, most of them stayed at the hotel. And I was asked by an assistant producer if I wanted to be in a scene that was going to be filmed in a couple nights at the St. Columbus Church. It was very cold. It was in the middle of the night. There was a lot of waiting around and standing, waiting for them to set up their scene. I was part of maybe 8 to 10 people, men. We were all dressed up in black clothing and actually some webbing, and a couple people actually had like ship lanterns to carry, and we were filmed on this road as we walked up towards St. Columbus Church. It was a very short scene. I believe in the movie, it's such a fast take on it. I believe only 3 or 4 people, maybe for a split second they show. The first time I watched a movie, and maybe even the second or third time, I was always looking to see if I was in the actual movie, and I've always figured I ended up getting cut from it, because I don't even know, maybe the one scene where they're going, oh my gosh, there's something coming up the road. I don't even know maybe if they refilmed that or not, or if it was that night they used just the first few people that were in the front of us, and they just used that for the split second on that shot. I thought it was so much fun because just all the local people, and always trying to figure out exactly like where the scene was shot in the Bear Valley scenes, and finding out stuff later at the garage. They actually used the Inverness garage for a scene where the windows got broken out in the truck. Just a little sidebar, it was fun working at the Golden Hind Hotel because almost every morning I could find a call sheet, and I would call Art Rogers because he always wanted to try to get some candid shots during that time, and I called Art and let him know where they would be filming that day and approximately what time, because I'd find call sheets because I was helping the maids. One thing I noticed, when the day that they left, there were some rooms and stuff where you could tell they had consumed cocaine. I always remembered that. I thought it was kind of funny, but it's a lot of the crewmen, I think they were done with their projects, and either time to celebrate or get ready to go on the road. But I always remembered that, helping the maids clean up afterwards. The old Golden Hind Hotel, I worked here during 1979 when the movie crew and cast were staying here. I remember that Adrienne Barbeau stayed in one of the rooms that is upstairs, that's over to my left.
My name's Sydney Ohama, and the fog was shot at my house for one day, the day that they shot the bedroom scene. And it was interesting that I was approached by the location scout, and we had this big kind of negotiation about what I was going to get for having the fog shot at my house in one day. So we ended up with, I would get $100. All the kids who lived in my house, and there were 3 of them, if they get to stay home that day, they could be on the set. It's a very strange kind of happenstance thing that I was being filmed by 60 Minutes that day. Everybody got very excited. They acted like I was a movie star, and they were so excited that I was going to go get filmed by 60 Minutes.
I'm Father Vincent Bizzuto. I'm the vicar here at St. Columba's here in Inverness. I remember The Fog when it first came out in 1980. I was 13 years old, and my friends and I it was immediate cult film for us. We loved it. We saw it multiple times. One of the things that was so exciting for me was the beauty of the landscape, which you can see in some aerial shots where Adrienne Barbeau was driving her car from what would be the radio station at the lighthouse to downtown Point Reyes, or where her home is, right across the street from where our church is now. And I assumed at the time at 13 that it was somewhere in Hollywood. I had no idea. I'd never heard of Marin County or West Marin at the time. I was living out in New Jersey. And so in 1996, I came out here with a friend of mine, and he and I were camping, and we ended up camping here at Coast Camp. And it's the first time in my life where I was like, wait a minute, I recognize this landscape. I recognize the roads and so forth. And that was the first time in 96 that I made the connection that this was the area where it was filmed. What I didn't know until I basically started my ministry here was that this was the driveway where 2 of the actors in the film drive up to go to the church in midway throughout the film. And I remember the first time I drove up the driveway and saw the Celtic cross that is still there, that I recognized, wait a minute, this is the church. I actually had to go back because it had been years since I saw the film. And I had to go back and see whether or not the church was actually St. Columba's. It was then that I found an online website which gave all the basic locations and so forth. And I tracked all the locations, including the home right across the street, which now has the onion domes, which didn't back in 1980, and realized that I am literally working and ministering across the street from where Adrienne Barbeau lived in The Fog.
My name's Rufus Blunk, and I live in Inverness here at this, and I spent all my life growing up here. And in '79, there was this film being filmed locally. This was the gas station of the town at the time. And it's a large steel warehouse space that would be appropriate to use as a movie studio. So the movie crew worked out a lease for Lee Richardson with the owner to use it for a space to make some footage. And a lot of the footage didn't need to be done in the field, so they needed a space to bring in their trucks and set up their frames and their wires and all the equipment to make. What they made in here was a black booth of a movie set, so they could do the nighttime scenes. And it was quite a spectacle and a curiosity for local folks. So it collected quite a few people that wanted to watch, and as long as we stay out of the way, we could watch. At one time I was here, and they were doing a night scene with the glass of the driver's side of the truck. It's a 48 Ford truck, and they had put in sugar glass for the film industry so it could break without cutting anyone. So we were told to shake the truck on cue. They did several retakes and things, and we were watching how films are actually made. It was really interesting and kind of boring, but we were actually there when something like broke, some glass broke, so that was fun. The 48 Ford pickup that was leased by the movie crew for the filming was a second family truck, and my mom actually liked it. They used it extensively in the field, and I'm not sure who the drivers were or the operational practice of it was such that they ran a lot of idle time, idling it for hours, I think, and they hurt the generator. So the generator went fried, and the clutch was slipped too much, and so the clutch was burned up. So they returned it after several weeks with repairs to be done. The film was shown for the first time in Petaluma at the Plaza Theater on North Boulevard, and it was quite a full house with lots of locals and a local photographer, and so that was a lot of fun.
I'm Matt Gallagher, and I was 10 and a half years old when the production company came to town. John Carpenter, his next movie after Halloween, The Fog. Didn't know much about it at the beginning because I was young, and I think I read something in the Point Reyes Light, and my brothers and sister told me about it. And then one day, my sister came in sometime after school. She was in high school by that time, and no, she was out of high school. And she said, "Hey, they're going to film a scene tonight on Main Street, I heard." And I lived on 2nd and B Street, so just 2 blocks away. And you can go out, and it was already really late. They wanted, I think, the stores to close and it to be dark. I believe it was April of 1979 when they were filming. One thing was there was never a single foggy day of filming, and it's not usually foggy in April. February would have been a lot better. Early mornings are foggy, but as a kid, I'm there on the sidewalk with about 25 to 35 other townsfolk and all the people on the set, and we were off to where the edge of the Emporium meets the kind of the park area, or now it's the little store, and we were all told to stay off the street because there's a scene where a truck is trying to start and get away from the fog. And I think I watched it for about an hour and a half before I had to go to bed. And I know that they filmed it for more than 2 hours, and it got late. I think it was 10 o'clock when I left, which was late for me at that age. And I was thinking, wow, it's really hard to make a movie. It changed my mind about how hard it was to make film, because that was just one scene and it was about 25 to 30 seconds long. Oh, the other thing I remember is they wanted no cars at all. And you'll see in the movie that there is one car that had been there for like a month, and they couldn't get it off the street, so it was still in the shot. But it was a lot of fun.
Hi, my name's Wendy Freifeld. It was pretty exciting. The first thing I noticed was people who looked like they might be important coming into the Inverness coffee shop where I was a waitress. There was a couple. She was quite well endowed, I recall. She had a low-cut top, and it turned out it was Adrienne Barbeau. I didn't exactly know who she was, but she played a daughter on the show Maude. And the guy with her was her husband, John Carpenter, who was famous for the Halloween movie. I think just one at that point. And they said they were making a movie around here. So I saw them quite a few times coming into the coffee shop. They were friendly. You saw some of the stars around town. It was always, where are they filming next? Oh, they're at the lighthouse. Oh, they're at so-and-so's house. And they liked the area so much that John bought a house at the top of Paradise Estates. This house was next door to my old friend Philip Fradkin. Philip called me. He knew I had been doing a film series at the Dance Palace. And Philip said, John says the movie's finished and he would like to have the world premiere as a benefit for the Dance Palace. So fortunately, there were a couple of guys who had recently taken over the Plaza Theater in Petaluma. They said, oh, we'd love to. And thus, we had the premiere. So we were excited to see all the stars marching in. Of course, we all dressed up as stars, but nobody was fooled. I think admission was $4, which included a glass of champagne. I seem to remember a discussion of, is $5 too much? Maybe we should make it $4. So not quite sure where we ended up. And we were told one of the actors would be coming. Would it be Jamie Lee? Would it be Adrian? Would it be, yes, the babysitter? So she had a couple of lines and she made an appearance. And none of us had seen it, so it was really great fun cheering all the local scenes. And maybe it would be scary if you watched it in the dark by yourself, but it actually seemed a little silly. And I just have learned that John Carpenter wrote the music, so there was a lot of stomp, stomp, stomp. The pirates are coming, and we would clap along. And it was a great experience.